Perfect. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate it. It's such a lovely day. I know it's tempting to be outside enjoying the sunshine. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 will honor and respect the land, the people, and the treaties. We are extremely thankful for the original tour guides of these lands and all that they have shared. All those that reside, work, and play on these lands are treaty people, and we must honor the treaties in a mutually beneficial and equitable manner. With 1 in 5 Indigenous people in Canada living in Ontario, we believe working together in a mutually beneficial manner will help all Ontarians prosper through the joint development of the tourism industry. As an ally to Indigenous people and a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 will commit to improving the socioeconomic conditions of Indigenous people through tourism by creating space for Indigenous people to tell their stories on their terms. Now, just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. First, if you didn't hear or if you were late getting in, this workshop is being recorded and it will be available for viewing after today's session on the RTO9 website, which if you haven't been, it's just www.rto9.ca. There will be time for questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box or you can put them into the chat window. I know that Jennifer will ask a couple of questions to get you guys engaged and answer some feedback for her. So be sure to jump in the chat when she's asking those questions. And then after today's session, you're going to get an email from me. It's going to have a quick 2-minute survey link. If you're able to spare some time to review the session, that would be greatly appreciated. It's also going to include the recording of today's session. Now, without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to our facilitator this morning, the lovely Jennifer Baker.
Thank you, Meg. So I'm going to apologize initially because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I think my Neocitrin is going to hold for the webinar so we can have a good webinar and then I can go home to my couch. So without further ado, we're going to be talking today about mastering e-commerce with Mailchimp. And I honestly really love this topic. And I love it because you can see the results. And I'll kind of bring that to your attention throughout the session. So how many of you on today's webinar currently use, I'll say, any form of email marketing? So while today we are talking about Mailchimp, if you use something like HubSpot or Constant Contact, that still counts as email marketing. So how many of you are doing any sort of email marketing in your business? You can just put it in the chat. Okay, thank you. So Linda, Robert, yes. Flame, no. Some people are just here for the ride. Okay. Marie does. Marie Paul, yes. Zamir is yes. Lily, none yet. Just getting started. Okay, perfect. So my name is Jennifer Baker, and I'm going to be your facilitator today on the topic of email marketing, specifically e-commerce with Mailchimp. So I have been running a digital marketing agency here in Kingston for the last 13 years. So it's myself and a team of 3, maybe a few more in the new year. So we'll see how that goes. So by the end of today's session, we're going to be learning how to integrate Mailchimp with e-commerce platforms. And like I said before, while today we are talking about Mailchimp, these functions exist with other email newsletter platforms as well. So this is my platform of choice, but I've said in previous sessions, you might find one that works better for you. So it might work better with your CRM, or you just like it better, different cost tiers. Find one that works for you. So a lot of what I talk about today is transferable knowledge. So we're going to be talking about product recommendations and segmentations. We're going to be talking about how to do abandoned carts and automation workflows. So those are really fun. I'm working with a downtown retailer right now, and we're setting up a lot of those functions. So it takes a lot of the onus off of creating a newsletter at a given time, and it's just going to flow based on the parameters that you put in. So there's some big words in today's session. So what do you think an integration is? I say integration and you say nothing. You're scared. What do you think it is? What do you think it means? Linked. Okay. Marie Paul is like, right on the right path. Robert, one software working with another and linked, putting together. Perfect. Okay, so this is exactly what we're doing. And I love integrations, and I even love them more if they work really well. So an integration is basically allowing, in the sense of Mailchimp is going to be talking to your, for example, Shopify store, and they're going to exchange information. Or maybe it's HubSpot talking to your WooCommerce store and exchanging information, so that you don't have to duplicate efforts. So regardless of the email marketing platform that you use, there's going to be integrations available. So in the sense of Mailchimp, there's over 250 integrations that are available for its users to use. Excuse me, I'm just going to mute for a second. Sorry about that. So these integrations here, this is what I use personally for my business. So I've connected it to Eventbrite, I've connected to Facebook, Google Analytics, Google Business Profile, Instagram, QuickBooks, and WooCommerce. So those are the integrations that work well for me. And that's why I always say, while I do present on Mailchimp because it works for me, find the email software that works best for you and find those integrations that work best for you. So these are some of the integrations that I use. Today, we're going to focus on the item kind of right at the bottom is WooCommerce, and that's my e-commerce platform. So before I get to this slide, how many of you currently do any sort of e-commerce? So let's say you have a Shopify or you have a WooCommerce store, a Lightspeed store online. How many of you currently have that functionality? Robert does. Planning to, but not yet. No. Okay, big commerce, but we haven't been able to integrate with Mailchimp yet. Okay. Okay, so we've got kind of a mix of yes and no and planning and challenges. So with e-commerce integrations, and the one that gets used the most, they're very popular, kind of the email platform of choice, or sorry, the e-commerce platform of choice during COVID was Shopify. So a lot of people started their businesses on Shopify, and Mailchimp works really, really well with them. Now, the thing with the e-commerce integrations is just because they're integrated doesn't mean everything is exchanged. So sometimes it's going to be missing some of the pieces that you want. So in the chat, one of the participants is saying that their e-commerce, BigCommerce, hasn't been able to integrate. So sometimes it doesn't bring along all the features that you want. So we're going to go through a little bit of that. I'm going to show you live in Mailchimp. So with Shopify, and this is what I was mentioning, that I've got work with a client downtown Kingston, we've set up now a welcome email that says like, welcome, thanks for joining us. Please fill out this survey based on your preferences. A couple days later, they get an email that says, thanks for joining us. Here's a coupon code for 25% off one item. And then that's the end of the journey. So we're able to do these types of integrations and make it very, very seamless. And that's part of it. So the benefits of doing any sort of e-commerce integration is those automated email campaigns. So a lot of people still have this idea that they have to create an email campaign rather than a set and forget. So a welcome campaign can be automated. A birthday campaign can be automated. Abandoned carts can be automated. So they trigger when people fall into a certain parameter. And I recently set up a birthday automation for a client of mine. And bless her heart, I love my clients, but she thought I was going into Mailchimp every single day and sending an email, like looking for whose birthday it was that day and sending an email. And I said, no, no, it's an automation. So I've set it up once and it only is triggered when people are one day out from their birthday. So that's where some of that time saving functionality comes in, is through this automation. The personalized recommendations is also very interesting, and you'll see this once we get into kind of the different tools within the newsletter. And it can track some of your activity. It can track some of your customers' activities, that if they were looking at the red shirt or the blue shirt, it's going to suggest those items or similar items. Did someone put up their hand? No, are we good? Okay. You also get additional customer insights. So as soon as you connect your e-commerce platform with Mailchimp, it shares all of the data. So what is Sally Smith purchasing? What has she purchased? What is her purchase history? And all of that feeds into developing newsletters that relate more closely to what Sally needs. We can also get into customer segmentation based on what people have purchased. And just general seamless integration, that it makes it far quicker to create emails. So one of my favorite things about e-commerce is you can see results pretty much live. And I was pulling this data from one of my clients. They do weekly emails for a product. It's a retail business. And they have, I want to say 2,100 people on their list. So not a huge list, but they've got around just over probably 2,000 people on their list. And this was a lower week for them. But they sent one email. They got 27 orders, an average order revenue of $27, and they made $739. Just attributed back to their email that they sent. Some weeks it can be as high as $3,000. On the lower end, it could be, anywhere from $500 to $600. So this is what I really like. And once people start to see these numbers, I don't want to say they get a little bit addicted to it, but they can see the results. You can say, I sent an email, one email equals $500. So you get excited about that email marketing. Okay, any questions before I move on? No, we're okay. Okay, so how do we do this? Let's look at Mailchimp. Can everyone see my screen okay? Yeah, okay, we can. Okay, so this is Mailchimp. What you're going to look for if you want to add integrations. So over on the left-hand side, you're going to go almost right near the bottom, and then you can go under where it says discover, and it will say discover new integrations. So this is where you can go in and you know your business best. You know the tools that you currently use. So before I go in and start typing words in, you can see these categories here. So analytics, booking and scheduling, e-commerce, finance, accounting, marketing, social media, ticketing. So I would encourage you, and certainly I know there's some people on here who, they're just learning about email marketing. Maybe they haven't committed to a specific program or platform. Find the one, this again, I'm coming back to find the one that works best with you. So if a tool doesn't have everything you need, just see if there's a tool that, is going to provide that to you. Okay. So what we can do in here, we can start searching. Actually, I'm just going to type in e-commerce. And then it's going to give us any of the integrations related to e-commerce. Okay, so BigCommerce, I think Linda uses here in the chat. Now, here's where not all integrations are built equally. So I'm going to look at Shopify. It's not one that I use personally, but all of my clients use. Okay, so when you're looking at an integration, look at all of these pieces here. What is it going to allow you to do? So it can do automations, journeys, personalized product recommendations. Okay, so just take a peek, like what it can do. Now, with your colleague Linda here, it is BigCommerce. I see your questions. I'll come back to them in a minute. So with something like this, they're built a little bit different. So they might, yes, they're sharing information, but they might not share all the same information as Shopify. So not every integration is built the same. So I've seen it where e-commerce will share only customer lists, and that's fine. I've seen it where they share customer lists, all the product information, product sales, basically everything. So it can be a lot or a little. And that's just based on the integration. There's nothing that you necessarily can do about it. That's just the way the integration has been built. Is Amazon part of it too? I'm curious where you're coming at this, Zamir. Amazon. No, not yet. I'm curious where that question is leading them. So when you're looking in here, so your e-commerce, I would take up Amazon here. And this is the one that I use. So we've got the sell more stuff, do more, sync marketing data, grow your audience. So that's what this tool can do for me. And it's got a different option here because it's already connected. Okay. Now, because we're in here, I just want to give you a little bit of like, well, what are the other integrations in here? Because that's always curious. So I use QuickBooks, or my accountant uses QuickBooks, and I've connected it. And what it will do is once I create an invoice for somebody, then they're then added into my email marketing list because they're a current client. And then they get a certain journey based on the fact that they've been invoiced for me. So it's like a thank you that comes through and so on. So there's, again, some options in here that, okay, once you send an invoice, what do you want that automation to be? Okay. There's also, I'm sorry that it jumps all the time. There's also social media. So we've got Instagram content blocks, which is fun because you can basically put in your Instagram feed into a newsletter. This one is more about ads, and that's fine. But this one, I would take a peek at this one. It does disconnect a lot, so you have to reconnect it, but it allows you to showcase your Instagram feed, and then you can pick which images or content that you want to share. Okay. So moral of the story, take a cruise through here and see what's going to work with you and for you. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go back to, now that we've connected our e-commerce, what does this look like in a newsletter? So once you've connected your e-commerce, so let's pretend Shopify, there's going to be a new option that appears when you create your newsletters. And that's going to be called your product block. And it's kind of identified by this little shopping bag and the word product. So your product block will gather information from your e-commerce store and basically transfer it into your email marketing. So if you want to show, this vine or this terrarium or this succulent, you key in the words and it automatically appears in your email newsletter. It brings over pricing, it brings over links back to your website, it brings over descriptions, and then you have the opportunity to edit any of it. So if it's too long or too short, you can change it a little bit, but it will take whatever information is on your e-commerce store and transfer it over to your Mailchimp newsletter. Okay. This one's a scary one. This one I love, but people are scared by it. So I encourage everyone to try this one out. The second type of product block that is now available on your screen is called a product rec. So it's the little shopping bag with the heart. And this is how it appears in the newsletter, which scares people. And they say, whoa, there's no picture. It's grayed out. It doesn't have a title. There's no price. What do you mean this is going in my newsletter? So what it does, it uses information from the contact list and who it's being sent to provide suggestions to what is best going to suit that customer or client. So within that product recommendation, you give Mailchimp direction to say, grab products from in here. So this store here, grab products they have recently viewed, if any. And if they haven't viewed anything recently, simply show them the best sellers in our store. So that's pretty cool, because if we go back to this screen, we're taking an email and sending it to 100 people saying, I think these 100 people are going to like these products, these 3 products. Fine. This is us as the business owner. Whereas this one is saying, hey, Mailchimp, take the existing customer data that we have and show 2 options that we think our customers will like. And it's very individualized. Everybody gets something different based on what their past history has been. So it's a little bit scary to send because it looks like this when you send it, but ultimately it's a lot better because it's using data that Mailchimp has gathered, saying something they have viewed, bestsellers, new products, and there's a couple other parameters that we're going to look at in a minute. Okay. So let's make a little newsletter here. And I was playing with my store the last couple days, and it's not working the way I exactly want it to do. So don't let that be a negative to you. So this is just a testing and practice email. We've gone over a lot of the basics in previous sessions. So you can go on the RTO website and view the last 2 webinars to kind of get an overview of this section here. So what we're going to do now that we have our e-commerce connected to our Mailchimp, we're going to go to Edit Design. And these are our 2 new blocks here. So there's our product block and there's our product recommendation block. So the first one I'm going to bring over is product. And like I said, this one's not working. I was troubleshooting the last couple of days, but my illness has been putting me on the couch, so I haven't gotten to it as much as I'd like to. Okay, so we're going to add a product block. These are my stores. So my stores include my website, so my shop. It includes my Eventbrite. It includes my QuickBooks. And then this one that is a hanger on that I just need to delete eventually. So let's just start here. This is the part that's not working. I was trying to troubleshoot yesterday, but I think I fell asleep. So for something like this, it's going to bring up all of your products. And then you can say add, see, look at it, shows, and then it goes away. So it ideally would show it and leave it. Now over on the left-hand side, you've got your title, your price. You can add the description in, which is quite lengthy. You can include a button. So yes, you want it or not. And then you can have a link back to the product. Okay. So I want to show you one that will actually work because it's not a great example if you can't see the picture. And this is for anyone who does events. So if you do anything through Eventbrite, they can be paid events or they can be free. So this is one that's coming up in February. See, this one works fine. It transfers over all the information from Eventbrite. And I remember we were doing training, I think with Meg on this. And it made it so much easier for Meg, who I think is responsible for a lot of the newsletters, to bring over all the events when she's showcasing events for RTO9. So you can add in all of your Eventbrite listings. You can add in all of your products that you want to showcase in a specific email. I'm just going to delete this so we don't get distracted. Delete. Okay. So once you add in your product, If you're not a fan of how it looks, and sometimes I can, you know, be a little bit picky about this, you can customize this as much or as little as you want. So some people are fine like this, but it says $0. You could change that to free. If you want view, you could say register. If you want to say, February, February 13th. So it could look something like that then. So now it's brought over kind of all the information that you need. In some circumstances, the web links don't work. So in an Eventbrite, for example, so when you look at any of the images or buttons, you can see these little exclamation points. Go down and make sure that the web links are working the way they should. And if they're not, make sure to add the links in. Typically for products, they're okay. Eventbrite, I often find that they disconnect for some reason, and you have to manually put them in. Okay. So that's the product block. So I'm just going to delete that. Now for the product recommendation, which is a little bit, scarier because this is how you're sending out your email. Nothing is in the email before you send it out. So what you do with something like this, over on the left-hand side, you set the parameters for what Mailchimp is going to pull out of your e-commerce store. Okay. So you're going to say pull from a respective store. We can create a new product feed. So we're going to pull from here. And then these are the options that you can suggest that it be pulled from. So something they have recently viewed, they have in their cart, which is really interesting. It could be bestsellers, new arrivals, random, or most viewed. So this is my recommendation. I want it in their cart. And then maybe bestsellers. Okay. So now when this goes out and it goes out to Brittany, it will show Brittany what's in their cart. And if not, then it will use a bestseller from our existing store. You can still customize these a little bit. So you can change colors, add or remove different elements like price or titles. You can change which way they display. You can change colors in here as well. But this is a really, really cool tool because it takes the assumption that we know everything about our customers. We know a lot about them, but we don't know everything. So this allows us to put what they need kind of right in their email. Okay, so I see a question from Robert. Sure. If you want to just write it in the chat, Robert, you can ask about segmentation. And then I can get to it. Okay. So before I move on, is there any questions about the product blocks? Any questions about these? So you can grab. I don't know why they disappear. Okay. No questions about this. We're a quick group today, I guess. Okay. So the other integrations that I just want to touch on, because I did address them a little bit earlier, many of them can be found under apps. So we're kind of in the last column here. So I'm just going to drag over apps. And this is where some of those other integrations or apps appear. So if you want to use them. So some of these are pretty cute, actually. So the Google Business Profile, which I didn't talk about, but it allows you to put a map in your newsletter. Oh, It's got all of my businesses except for my actual. Okay, let's just do this business is out of Colorado. That's okay. So you can have in your newsletter a map of your location, the name of the organization, website directions. It's basically your Google business profile. It's your whole business Google profile. So you can take out anything that you don't think is maybe relevant. And now you've just got the map in there. So it's a live Google map that's been integrated. Okay. So that's Google Business. So let's take this one out. Let's show you Instagram. It might work. Again, sometimes it just doesn't. Oh, she's working today. Okay, so Instagram, you can do a single post so you can see the most recent post. You can have the caption along with it. You can do multi-post gallery. And then you can pick which ones. So this is a kind of a nice little thing as well. So if you want to highlight top performing, latest news, and so on, you can do that. So those are some other integrations that will be really handy for you. Okay. All right. All right, journeys. I know I alluded to it, but what is a journey? What is a customer journey? Does anyone know? Okay. Okay. So John, sales funnel, yes. Linda, interest stage to purchase, yes. Yeah, they, that's exactly it. So journeys are automations that you can set up with your email marketing platform that there are triggers. So somebody purchases something, it's their birthday, they've abandoned their cart for more than 4 hours. There's a trigger. And once that trigger or criteria is met, it sends that contact through what Mailchimp calls a journey. So in this example up at the top, the contact is signing up to an audience. They've purchased, yes, no. So they did purchase, welcome back. They didn't purchase, welcome to our community. And then they're set on a journey. And they don't have to be long. Some are very short. So it might have a couple conditions, an email, and that's it. Some are more extensive. Now, with customer journeys, and this goes for any email marketing platform, these can get expensive. So the more conditions, the longer the journeys, this is where email marketing costs tend to go up because they want to have you purchase into a larger, more robust program. So sometimes you can be a little bit limited depending on your budget and what you want to do with this specific journey. So some of the benefits of these journeys. Number one, find and welcome new contacts. So how many people have ever gone to a website and it's, save 10%, sign up to our newsletter. I think almost every website has this now. So it's a pop-up that comes up almost immediately or, shortly thereafter, and you sign up to the newsletter and then you're given a coupon code for, 10% off or free delivery or something like that. It can re-engage contacts. So if you haven't heard from someone in a while, maybe they haven't made a purchase, maybe they haven't opened an email in a set criteria, you can have journeys trigger when people meet those criteria. So if somebody hasn't opened the last 30 emails, send them a personalized email like, are you okay? Here's a coupon. It can also be for nurturing leads. So I think as mentioned, by John and Linda similar. So maybe they haven't made a purchase, but you want to nurture that initial lead. What is the information that you want to provide them over a certain duration? And then simply support and manage your contacts, because everybody is an individual. So while in previous sessions we've talked about audiences as an aggregate, every contact in our audience is an individual. So using these journeys, we can support and manage them on an individual basis. So I'm going to pause there for a second because I want to look at Robert's question, because I know he has to scoot off in a second. So Robert, I do talk about this in previous sessions. It's best practice now to have one list in Mailchimp, so keeping all of them together and simply using tags. So rather than having different lists for members, former, and non, I would have one list and have them tagged. And then as they reach different thresholds with you, then removing and adding tags. So then you're not going to lose that contact history. So, and also I think it's probably webinar one. I don't know, Meg can probably figure it out. It's the first or the second webinar I talk about this. Okay. So the welcome series. And what I love about these journeys is that email marketing platforms don't make you do it on your own anymore. They give you templates to work with. So in this scenario, somebody signs up for our newsletter, they've made a purchase, welcome back. After 5-day delay, they get another, piece of information, they get another email. If they haven't made a purchase, they just say, welcome to our community, and they're done. So there's a lot of these flows, I guess you could say, that you can choose from. So I'm going to go through some of I'll say the top ones that I get asked about, and then we're going to look at everything that's available for you. So the second one is recovering abandoned carts. So depending on the e-commerce platform that you maintain, sometimes this is already kind of built in. So I know Shopify is pretty good at it, but you can also do it through Mailchimp. So if somebody has abandoned a cart, they're signed into their email, they're signed into their customer kind of back end, we can see that they've abandoned their cart, so then we can send an email saying, hey, come back to your cart. Now, I read a lot online. So people do this strategically now, that they'll put something in their cart, they'll leave it for a day. They know they're going to get a coupon to come back and make that purchase. So people are aware that businesses and organizations are doing this, and they're just kind of waiting for that trigger. Another one, like I was mentioning earlier with my one client, the birthday email. And I'm sure we all get, a few birthday emails every year saying, happy birthday, come have a free ice cream on us, or something like that. So number one, you do need to be collecting information about your customers' birthdays. So it doesn't have to include the year. It can just be simply month and day. So depending on the criteria that you put in, so in my client's one example, it's 2 days before their birthday. They get a coupon code for 50% off one piece. And then they have, I think it's 20 days to use the coupon, for example. And then that's the whole journey. And then they're done. And then they can repeat kind of in the next year. So let's take a peek at journeys. So without kind of putting you into overwhelm, I'm going to do a quick zoom so you can see everything that's available. Look at, these are all automations that exist. So again, this kind of comes back to, you can filter it, email. What do you want to do? E-commerce. What's your integration? So if we go to Shopify, that's just my topic of choice today. What pre-built journeys exist for Shopify? So let's do Repeat customers, reward VIP. What could we do here? Recover lost customers. We could try this one. Engage customers who have not made a purchase in X number of months. So this is an interesting one. And it does it so easily. So let's see this one. Let's just say use this. Oh, it's telling me to upgrade. So what you're going to do, you're going to say, please grab from, my business store. I think it's 100 days. So they haven't purchased from me in the last 4 months. So once people have met that criteria, they've made a purchase, but they haven't purchased in the last 100 days, they've spent over $100. Then we're going to create an email. So this is where your templates come into handy, that you can grab a template and it's going to be all customized to exactly what you want it to be. So let's just say select a template. So now it looks like I'm just building a regular email. So I'll say save and continue. I've pretended I've made the whole thing from start to finish. So check out this product. After 3 days, have they done anything? So did they open it? Did they not open it? So if they opened it, they can be tagged in a certain way. So Robert, going back to tags are important. If they didn't open it, then they can exit that journey. You can add criteria that, yes, people can go back into the journey. It can be minutes, hours, days, weeks. You can track everything and back to your Google Analytics. So you know that people are coming from your Google Analytics. Okay. So other things that we can do. So let's go back to pre-built. Welcome new contacts. And this is a pretty common one. So this is how some people get their 10% off. So as soon as you sign up, you're given an email with a coupon code. So contact signs up, they get a welcome email. So they've signed up for my newsletter, they get a welcome email. And this is where I've mentioned finite math. So for those of you who are the OAC genre, like I was, this is like finite math, if else, time delay, if then scenarios. So you can add time delays too. So maybe you don't want it immediately. So you could say after 1 hour. So they sign up, after 1 hour, they get the email. So otherwise it's immediate. So you can change this to be a week, a day, or you don't even need it at all. So there's a lot that you can do in here. This could be a whole session just on journeys, but this is how you start to re-engage those e-commerce customers. It's not just send an email and hope for the best, but how can we stay in front of them with welcome emails, birthday emails, re-engaging if we haven't heard from them in a while, abandoned carts. Okay. And then there's all these other things that you can do with them. Okay. So I'll show you the abandoned cart and then we'll wrap up for today. So that's one of the top ones. We'll use this. I'll just grab my store. So you can choose any products or specific. And if they haven't checked out in what's the parameter, what is your You want 1 hour? You can do that. So contact abandons the cart in my store in 1 hour. They get this email. Select a template. And this is what it's already starting with. So here's my logo, forgot something. And it's already put in these recommendations that we've talked about earlier, those product recommendations. In here, there's now a cart icon. So it's a difference between the two. So cart versus product recommendation. And you can still customize this. So you can still add kind of all the bits and pieces that you would in a different email. But now it's just going to people who have abandoned their cart. If you want to add coupons, you can do that through simple text. Sometimes there's integrations that you can use as well. Save and close. Okay. And then once they've received that email, then they're done. And that's kind of the preset. Again, you can add as much or as little to these journeys as you think is necessary. Sometimes keeping it simple is the best. You know, what do you want to achieve through this? You want to get people back to their cart to complete that sale. All right. We're almost at the end. Okay. Okay, so today was a lot of information, specifically about the integrations. So talking about e-commerce, the different e-commerce platforms, Shopify, WooCommerce, how to use the product recommendations and the segmentations, like how to really say, okay, this is what you should be getting in your newsletters. And then talking about strategies for recovering abandoned carts. So starting to set up all those automations and those journeys, abandoned carts and workflows to re-engage people and birthdays and welcome notes. So it was a lot of information today. And as I've said already before, you know, find the email platform that works best for you. I love Mailchimp. It's a good price point. My clients tend to love it. But do find the one that brings you comfort and that supports your business goals as well. So there's lots out there. But today we talked about Mailchimp. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope I made sense. I'm very looking forward to going home to my couch right now. But I will stick around for the next few minutes if you do have any questions.
Great session, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us, even though you're feeling a little bit under the weather. So this is your chance to ask some questions to Jennifer. If you have any about integrations, I do have a question for you, Jennifer, from like the tourism. Let's say they don't necessarily have like a product retail store. Let's say it's somebody who's a tourism operator. They're selling tickets to something. I just want to make sure that everyone knows these still things can still apply for abandoned carts regarding like ticketing for an experience or something.
Totally. And provided they sell it through an e-commerce platform. So if they're on Shopify and they're selling boat ticket cruise
tours, same rules apply. And for me, I'm a service-based business as well. So I have packages and I use WooCommerce. So same applies. It's not that you have to be selling a t-shirt, but it certainly applies to anything provided you've got that e-commerce component.
Perfect. So if you're an accommodation and someone who's looking at booking one of your rooms, this is a great way to get people re-engaged to think about booking with you, staying overnight in your area. Or let's say you're a tour operator, getting people re-engaged to come and visit and take the tour with you, and maybe they're gonna, you know, think about other things to do in the area. That could be something that if you're an accommodator or an attraction, you could think about things that you could do in your area. So when you're re-engaging people into your e-commerce platform, you can say, oh, we saw that you were looking at this room in our accommodation. did we tell you about all these fun things to do in the area at the same time? So maybe consider booking your room and then you can check out all these other great things. It's a great way to package with other businesses in the area as well.
Mhm.
I don't see any questions for you, Jennifer.
I don't know.
Very
Maybe
thorough.
they feel sorry for me because
Yeah.
I got to know.
You just did a great job answering everyone's questions during your presentation.
Okay.
Well, thank
I'll
you
take
so
it.
much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for putting on. This was our third and final installment of this Mailchimp email marketing series. However, as a reminder, we're sending a survey link. If you liked the information that Jennifer presented and you liked Jennifer's presentation style, consider giving us some feedback in regards to other topics you may want Jennifer to cover, because we're happy to bring people back in and make sure we're covering topics that are interesting to you, the viewer, and to our operators in the area that are looking for information on topics like Mailchimp and e-commerce. So feel free to fill out that survey. Thank you again, Jennifer, and
Thank you.
go home, put your feet up, have some soup,
I plan on it. Plan on it.
and have a nice
Thank you.
time. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and happy reminder to check your emails for our Mailchimp email that will be coming as a follow-up. So thank you, everybody.